Hello, can you hear me? Please reply. Can you hear me? Please reply in chat box. Hello, Rupesh. Sandesh Rupesh, can you hear me? Yes, very good. So please share this link to your WhatsApp group so that all can join. ठीक है? Okay, Prachi is there, Rupesh is there, Nutan is there, Pramodini is there. Very good, very good. शिवानी शिवानी पाटील पण आली. वारे वा, गुड, व्हेरी गुड. चांगली गोष्ट आहे. ठीक आहे. So can I start my lecture? Yes or no? Can I start my lecture? बोलो भाई जल्दी से. Yes. ठीक है, चलो. So we will start today's lecture. But before going to the actual lecture, I would like to say something about you people. I think you people are a special people. You people are some blessed with God because of you are going to study online this year. ठीक है. So something special, you have something special in you. That's why ये जो ट्रायल है ऑनलाइन लेक्चर का और ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन का, ये आप लोगों पे हो रहा है. सही बात है कि नहीं बात है? सो यू पीपल आर ब्लेस्ड पीपल. कुछ खास है आप लोगों में, तभी आप लोग ये नया प्लेटफॉर्म आप लोग यूज करने वाले हो फॉर दिस ईयर. ठीक है. सो yes, yes, yes. Ankita is saying sure sir. Rajat is saying yes sir. Let's wait for others. Anjesh is saying let's wait for others. No problem. They will come, Anjesh. You don't worry about that. ठीक है. So first of all, I would like to welcome all of you in the second year of your BSc degree, and I would like to congratulate all of you as you have taken chemistry as your subject. ठीक है. So today we will discuss first of all we will discuss syllabus, then we will see the marking scheme or passing criteria for this semester, and then we will see the one chapter or introduction to the one chapter. ठीक है. So we will start our lecture. ठीक है. Yes or no? Yes or no? Tell me. बोलो जल्दी से. Yes, very good. Very good. That the spirit I want from you people. Pramodini, Rajat, Anjesh, very good. Ganesh Kasturi is there, very good. So those people, I think I have taken practical of you people. So many of students from FIBSC, they conducted or they performed practical under my supervision in last year. For that people, I think I am known to all of them, but those who were not for the practical in my batch, I would like to introduce myself. I am Kishore Kale. I am assistant professor. I am working as assistant professor in chemistry department. I did my master from Pune University in inorganic chemistry, and for this year I am going to teach you paper 2, that is physical and analytical chemistry. ठीक है. So in this lecture we will see introduction to the chemistry paper 2. ठीक है. So we will start today's lecture. So this is your SYBSc chemistry term 1 semester 3. So please remember this. This is your term 1 and semester 3, and this is according to your CBCS. This is according to your CBCS, that is choice based credit system, correct? So according to this CBCS, this is your term 1 of semester 3. ठीक है ना? So for this semester 3 or term 1, you have two chemistry paper, paper 1 and paper 2. Paper 1 is CH301, that is physical and analytical chemistry, and paper 2 is I think organic and inorganic chemistry, that is CH301. So I am going to teach you paper 1 CH301 physical and analytical chemistry. This paper we will discuss for this semester. Okay, so we'll start. This is the code of your paper. Please remember this. Many people don't know their code after the completion of this semester or this year. So this CH, what this CH stands for? This CH stands for chemistry. This CH stands for chemistry. Okay. Then this 3 is your third semester. This 3 is your third semester, and this 1 is for your paper 1. Okay. So name of that paper is physical and analytical chemistry, and the total marks for this paper is 50 marks. Total mark for this paper is 50 marks. Both paper 1 and paper 2, these both are for 50 marks. Then out of this 50 marks, 35 marks are for university examination. 35 marks for your university examination, and 15 marks for your internal assessment. 15 marks is for your internal assessment. So this is about your theory course. This is about your theory course. And the practical course is also for 50 marks. Practical course is also for 50 marks. And this 50 marks again divided into two exams, university examination and internal examination. University examination again it is for 35 marks, and internal examination again it is for 15 marks. So this is your marking scheme. This is your marking scheme for theory plus practical course. And to pass this course, you have to secure at least 40% marks. कितने परसेंट चाहिए आप लोगों को? 40%, both in university examination and internal examination. There is a separate passing criteria for university examination and internal examination also. So at least you have to get 40% marks in each examination, that is for university examination and internal examination. And this marking scheme is for theory as well as practical course. Okay. Then we will see the chapters. I think for this semester, paper 1, that is physical and analytical chemistry, there are total 4 chapters. Chapter 1 is chemical kinetics. Chapter 2 is surface chemistry. Chapter number 3 is errors in quantitative analysis, and chapter number 4 is volumetric analysis. Okay. So we will discuss one by one. First chapter or chapter number 1 is chemical kinetics. In this we will see the introduction about the chemical kinetics, rate laws, order we will see, molecularity we will see, factor affecting on rates we will see, then types of order of reaction, half-life period we will see, Arrhenius equation we will see, that is EA, then reaction dynamics and collision theory we will see, and transition state theory. Very important is transition state theory. So this is the some important topics from your chapter number 1, that is a chemical kinetics. This chapter 1 is related to the chemical reactions or a rate of that reactions. How to determine the rate of that reaction, what is the order of that reaction, and different factors which are affects the rate of reactions. Okay, so this is all about your chapter number 1. Then chapter number 2 is surface chemistry. In this we will see the specific terms, adsorption, absorption, factor affecting and characteristics of the adsorptions. Then we will see the types of adsorption. There are different types of adsorption. Classification of adsorption is also there, and some adsorption isotherms are there. For example, this Langmuir adsorption isotherm, Freundlich adsorption isotherm and BET theory, and we will see the application of this surface chemistry. So this is your chapter number 2, that is surface chemistry. Chapter number 3 is, the name of chapter number 3 is errors in qualitative and quantitative analysis. Chapter number, this is very important chapter, errors in quantitative analysis. So there are different types of analysis. Mainly these analysis are classified into two types, qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis, we are talking about the which cation or which chemical material is present, and in quantitative means how much amount that particular chemical or cation or anion is present in a given compound. So during this quantitative analysis or qualitative analysis, some errors are there, or some uncertainties are there, that we will going to see in this chapter number 3, So in this we will discuss introduction to the errors, limitations of analytical method, classification of error we will see, then we will see accuracy, we will see precision, then minimization of errors we will see, method expressing of accuracy, precision, mean and standard deviation we will see, and reliability of results and numericals. This is your chapter number 3, which is important chapter, that is errors in quantitative analysis. And chapter number 4, the name of chapter number 4 is volumetric analysis. Volumetric analysis. There are different types of volumetric analysis. These are mostly titration based method. So in this volumetric analysis, there are different types. Which types? Volumetric analysis, for example, neutralizations titrations are there. This is very important. You know that neutralization titrations. Anybody knows what is neutralization titrations or example of neutralization titration? Can you tell me? Anybody? If you know the answer, please reply in chat box. Neutralization titration, or we can say neutralization reaction. What is mean by this neutralization reaction? Anybody knows? Please tell me. Yes or no? कहाँ चले गए भाई आप लोग? Are you there or not? Yes or no? What is mean by neutralization titration? Or what is mean by, yes, acid base gives salt. Yes, M Kulkarni. Please write your name. So I can recognize you. M Kulkarni says acid base titration. Correct. Very good. If acid react plus base, then it will give, yes. Sejal Kore is saying yes sir, we are. So acid base reaction will give you a neutralization reactions, and that process is called as a neutralization process. And if you are adding acid into base or base into acid, then that titration is called as a neutralization titration. Then next type is complexometric titration. In complexometric titration means what? In this complex is formed. For example, if you have seen this complexometric titration, in that one chelate you have used, and the name of that chelate is EDTA, and we have performed this titration in FYBSc practical. Anybody knows this titration with EDTA? Which experiment was that? Anybody knows? EDTA means कौन सा टाइट्रेशन था वो? Anybody knows that titration? Please reply. है किसी को? That titration is EDTA, complexometric titration, and I have told or I have explained very well during that practical. EDTA, it is used, or the name of that experiment is to find out the hardness of water. Name of that experiment is what? To find out hardness of water, and we have used EDTA in that case. EDTA means ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. Can't remember sir. Sejal Kore is saying can't remember. कैसा होगा आप लोगों को? FY BSc का याद नहीं आ रहा है या कोरोना की वजह से भूल गए सब लोग? भाई देख लो, ये कोरोना हो ना हो, हम लोगों को अपनी पढ़ाई करनी चाहिए, ठीक है? यस और नो? पढ़ाई करनी चाहिए या नहीं करनी चाहिए? Okay, very good. So this EDTA, a long form of EDTA is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid, and we have used this for hardness of water, to find out the hardness of water. We have used this experiment to find out the hardness of water. Hardness of water, and in this we have used one metal, or those metals which are generally present in water, that are magnesium 2 plus and calcium 2 plus, magnesium 2 plus and calcium 2 plus, and this EDTA forms a complex with this magnesium 2 plus and calcium 2 plus. So complex formation takes place during that titration. That's why it is called as a complexometric titration. That's why it is called as complexometric titration. Why it is called as? Because EDTA is chelating ligand and it forms a complex with magnesium 2 plus and calcium 2 plus. That's why it is called as a complexometric titration. Then next titration is redox titration. These terms you know very well. These terms you know very well. That is redox titration. Can anybody knows what is redox titration or what is redox reaction? In FY BSc, I think it was there. Redox titration or redox reactions. What is mean by redox reactions? What is mean by redox reactions? In which there is oxidation and reduction takes place. When the oxidation and reduction takes place in the same reaction or simultaneously, then that reaction is called as a redox titration. Yes or no? Means there is a gain of electron and correct. Reduction. Anjesh Thakur is saying reduction and oxidation simultaneously. Pramodini is also saying oxidation and reductions. So for example, in reactions, oxidation and reduction taking place in at one time, then that reaction is called as a redox reactions. Correct. Rajat Singh, correct. You are right. So, and we are doing that redox reaction in titration, then it is called as a redox titration. Very simple. ठीक है ना? So there is a gain and donation of electron takes place. Gain and donation of electron takes place. Oxidation means what? Oxidation means the donation of electron or increase in oxidation state, and reduction means there is a decrease in oxidation state, then that is called as a reductions. So these redox reactions, if it takes place in titration, then it is called as a redox titration. And the last one, precipitation titration. Precipitation titration means, for example, a chemical reactions in which precipitate is or white precipitate it forms. For example, detection of chloride ion, which is acidic radicals. If you take OS and if you add silver nitrate in that solution, then curdy white precipitate will get formed. And if we use these precipitation reactions in titration, then it is called as a precipitation titration. So this is just quick overlook, we can say, of the all 3 or 4 chapters. Detail what is types of volumetric analysis, neutralization titration, complexometric titration, and redox titration and precipitation titration we will see while studying the chapter. So first of all, we will start with our first chapter. First chapter is chemical kinetics, but we will not study chemical kinetics in this first lecture. We will start with very simple or basic thing or very easy thing, that is errors in quantitative analysis. For example, if you are doing anything, not only quantitative analysis, also if you are studying, if you are playing, you are listening my lecture, so there may be some errors. You cannot get 100% error free results at all any times. You are always get a results with some errors, and by mistake any chance if you get a correct result. Correct result means error means what? It is the difference between true value or observed value, and if you get the correct result then it is only a by chance. ठीक है, ये क्या क्या कहते हैं इसको, इत्तेफाक हो सकता है वो. You will not get 100% pure results. So we will see the some introductory part. It is impossible to perform a chemical analysis that is totally free of uncertainties. What is this? It is impossible to perform a chemical analysis that is totally free of errors or uncertainties. We cannot perform any analysis which is totally free, or there is no errors or there is no uncertainties. There will be error always present in your result. Okay? Then errors occurs due to the faulty calibration. So why do the errors come? They comes due to the faulty calibrations or improper or incomplete or wrong standardization procedure. No proper SOPs are there. SOPs means standard operating procedures. So this error occurs due to the faulty calibration of apparatus, or instruments whatever you are using, or standardization, or it may occur by the random variations or uncertainties in the results. Okay? Then errors is not a mistake. So please remember, if you get a error or error is there, so it is not your mistake. It is not, yes, correct, ittifaq. Error is not a mistake. It is part of measuring process. Error is a part of your measuring process or chemical analysis process or whatever you are doing. Error has to be there. You cannot get 100% error free results. Okay? Then next. So what we can do? We can only hope to minimize the error. We cannot eliminate the error. We cannot avoid the error, but we can minimize the error. We can minimize the error. 100% we can minimize the error, and we can estimate their size with the acceptable accuracy, and we can minimize the errors up to the levels that is acceptable. We can minimize the errors up to the level or threshold value that is acceptable. Okay? So these are some introductory part in the error. Then we will see the definition of error, which is very important. If you have pen or notebook or copy, then you can write this definition of error, which is very important point. Which is very important point. So what is the definition of error? Write down the definition. The definition of error says every measurements can be correct only within the possible limits. Definition of error says every measurements can be correct only within possible limits and are always associated with certain degree of uncertainty. And this uncertainty is called as error. So what is error? If you perform an experiment or if you perform a procedure, so this procedure is always associated with certain degree of uncertainty. So there may be some uncertainty, and this uncertainty or the degree of uncertainty is called as error. The degree of uncertainty is called as error. What is error? In any chemical reactions or in any procedure or any chemical experiment, there is some degree of uncertainty. There is some degree of uncertainty, and this degree of uncertainty is called as error. This degree of uncertainty is called as error. Okay? So why do this error comes? We make mistakes in weighing the sample. Proper weighing is not there. For example, weighing balance is not showing proper weight. So due to this error may occur. So first cause of occurring of error. Then we do mistakes in doing the calculations. For example, if you have to perform reactions and you have to give the stoichiometry of that reactions, and if you calculate and if you make some mistake during the calculation, then also errors will occur. So there are some limitations of analytical methods. So these analytical methods or analytical instruments, they are used to avoid, or not we can say avoid, they are used to reduce or to minimize the errors. But there are some limitations also doing the analytical instrument or analytical methods. Which errors or which limitations are there? Sometimes that analyst means what? The person who is performing or analyzing the reactions or carrying the reactions, that is called as the analyst doesn't have knowledge of accuracy and precision of the method being used. So analyst must have the knowledge of this word, accuracy and precision of the method which is being used. So this accuracy and precision, these 2 points or these 2 terms or these knowledge of this accuracy and precision of a particular method, it is different for different methods. So analyst must have the knowledge of accuracy and precision of the method which is being used for that particular experiment, and these accuracy and precisions are different for different methods. So this is the first limitations. What is that limitation? Analyst does not have knowledge of accuracy and precision. Analyst does not have knowledge of accuracy and precision of the method which is being used for that particular experiment. This is the first limitation of analytical method. Second limitation is knowledge of chemistry involved in qualitative analysis. So this analyst must have the knowledge of chemistry which is involved in quantitative analysis. For example, analyst which is carrying out a chemical experiment, so that analyst must have the knowledge of chemistry or knowledge of that proper reactions, we can say, which is used in quantitative analysis. So why that analyst have the knowledge of chemistry? Because of there are possibilities of interference of other ions, because of there are possibilities of interference of other ions, elements and compounds. For example, we have seen in or we can say this we can see in SYBSC practically, inorganic qualitative analysis. Inorganic qualitative analysis means what? Means we have to find out 2 acidic and 2 basic radical from given inorganic compound. So there are some ions which interfere during the qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis. So we have to remove that ions first. For example, borate is there, borate is interfering anion, phosphate is there. So these anions, they interferes in our quantitative or qualitative analysis. So first of all we have to remove these anions, and then we have to carry out the quantitative analysis or qualitative analysis. So the second limitation is the analyst does not have the knowledge of chemistry involved in that particular process. So these are some limitations of analytical methods. Okay, then we will see the classification of errors. We will see the classification of error. The mainly these errors are classified into 2 categories. Mainly these errors are classified into 2 categories or 2 types. Which 2 types? So first type is this one. First type is this one, and the name of first type is systematic error or determinant error. Systematic error or determinate error. This is the first types of error. And second type is random error or indeterminate error. So these 2 types are there. These errors, they are broadly classified into 2 types. First type is systematic error or determinate error, and second type is random error or indeterminate error. So these 2 types are there. So errors are classified into 2 types: systematic error, determinate error. Systematic error is also called as determinate error, and second type is random error, which is also called as a indeterminate error. So we will see in details all these 2 types. We will see in detail all these 2 types. First we will start with systematic error or determinate error. Definition of systematic error or determinate error. So if you have a notebook, you can write the definition of systematic error. So what is the definition of systematic error? The systematic errors occurs with definite regularity. Systematic errors, they occurs with definite regularity, so they are called as a systematic error. So those errors which accurate in definite interval, the error which occurs or present in a definite interval or definite, we can say, time period, then then that error is called as a systematic error. They show regular behavior with respect to time or with respect to procedure or with respect to instrument, whatever it is. So these types of error, they are called as a systematic error. The systematic errors occurs with definite regularity, so they are called as a systematic error. This is the first definition of systematic error. The second definition is, you can write down the second definition. The errors which have some cause, to their occurrence and hence can be determined are termed as a determinate error. So why the systematic error are called as a determinate error? Because of these errors have some cause or some reason is there behind that errors. So, and we know that reason or cause or source of that particular error, so we can determine that. So this is very important. बड़ी मजे की बात है. We can determine the error also. Why? Because we know the cause, we know the origin of the error, and if you know the origin of that error or we know the reason or cause, we can avoid that reason or we can avoid that cause or we can avoid that act, and due to that avoidation we can determine that error. Okay, so this is the second definition of error. The cause of occurrence of this error is known. The cause of occurrence of this systematic error and determinant error is known, so they can be detected. So we can detect these types of error. Which types of error we can detect? Systematic error. We can determine the systematic error. Why? Because we know the cause or origin of that error, so they can be detected or corrected, so we can correct them also and can be eliminated or minimized. If you know, once you know the reason why this error is coming, we can correct it, we can eliminate it or we can minimize it. Okay? Then the example of systematic error or determinate error. For example, a plastic tape, this tape, for example, this tape which is used to measure the length, so when it becomes old, then it gets stretched. So it cannot give a correct length. It will give you a faulty length. So this is the example of systematic error or determinate error. Which example? A plastic tape measures length becomes slightly stretched over the years. So when it becomes old, it gets stretched and it will give you a faulty length. So and error may occur. Now why this error occurs? Because it becomes old and it becomes stretched. So you can avoid this error by taking a new tape. So the cause or origin of this error we know. So we can avoid it, we can eliminate it or we can minimize it. This is the very day-to-day example. Now we will see some example from chemistry point of view. So we will see some example from chemistry point of view. For example, this is a burette. Which is used in titration. And we have to read the volume of water. So in this case, for example, this liquid is water. And you have to read the volume of water. So in this case, you have to take the lower meniscus. Of water. Okay. So many people make the mistake while taking the reading of the burette. Okay. So this is the water. So during the water, or if water is there in the burette, so you have to take the lower meniscus. You have to read the lower meniscus and take that reading. Okay. Then for example, in this case, now in this burette, dilute solution of K2Cr2O7 is there. K2Cr2O7 is there. So this is colored liquid. Now while taking the color liquid, many misconception is there, many misconception is there. So while if you see in case of color liquid, अगर आपको lower meniscus दिख रहा है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल दिस इज लोअर मिनिस्कस, अगर आपको लोअर मिनिस्कस दिख रहा है तो आपको लोअर मिनिस्कस ही रिकॉर्ड करना है. बहुत से मिसकंसेप्शन है इसके बारे में कि आपको अपर मिनिस्कस लेना है. नहीं, अगर आपको इफ लोअर मिनिस्कस इज विजिबल टू यू देन यू कैन टेक द लोअर मिनिस्कस. ठीक है. देन वी विल सी द नेक्स्ट एग्जांपल. फॉर एग्जांपल this liquid we can say it is a KMnO4 solution, KMnO4 solution, and here if you see lower meniscus is not visible. In this case lower meniscus is not visible. So if only if lower meniscus is not visible, then you have to take the upper meniscus. Many people makes mistake during taking the burette reading. ठीक है. So if water is there, you have to take lower meniscus. If color liquid is there and if lower meniscus is visible to you, then take the lower meniscus. And if color liquid is there, for example in case of KMnO4, lower meniscus is not visible to you, then take the upper meniscus. ठीक है. So this is these are the some example. The next example is the positions from where you are looking. So many student makes mistake during taking the burette reading. For example, you are viewing or you are seeing that burette from top, then you will get the wrong result. If you viewing that burette or that liquid from the top, then you will get the wrong result. If you are seeing that burette reading from lower bottom part, then also you will get incorrect reading. You have to maintain the level of your eye to the level of that liquid, then only you will get the correct burette reading. So here cause of error is known. If you are looking from top, this is the cause or this is the origin of that error. If you are looking from bottom, this is the origin of that error. So you know the origin, you know the reason, you know the cause behind that error, so you can minimize. How will you minimize? By looking the parallel to the, we can say parallel to the burette reading. So in this way you have to look and take the burette reading. ठीक है. So this is the systematic error or determinate error. Second example is random error or indeterminate error. Second example is random error or indeterminate error. So we will see the definition. We will see definition of random error or indeterminate error. So what is the definitions? The random errors or indeterminate error are caused, these errors are caused by the slight variations. These errors are caused by the slight variations that occur in successive measurements, done by the same analyst under the analytical conditions. What is the error? These errors are caused by the slight variation that occurs in successive measurements done by the same analyst under the identical conditions. If the same person is taking more than 100 readings or 50 readings, person is same, condition is identical, so during the taking of each reading there may be some error, and that error is called as a random error. Now this random error, it comes from unpredictable changes. That random error or indeterminate error, that comes from unpredictable changes during the experiment. So we cannot predict the changes, so due to that changes, that error comes, and these random errors are unavoidable. Why these random errors are unavoidable, or why we cannot avoid this random error? Anybody tell me? Anybody knows why we cannot avoid this random error? If anybody knows, please reply me in chat box, so that I can realize that you are active in class. आप लोगों ने YouTube चालू करके कहीं घूमने नहीं गए हो. ठीक है. If you reply me in chat box, then only I can say you are in the class, otherwise you are not in the class. You have just opened the YouTube and looking here and there. चलो जल्दी से रिप्लाई करो मुझे. I am here but don't know the answer. Pranav Jags. Very good. See, I have told you. These random errors. So reason is what? These random errors comes from unpredictable changes, or we cannot know. It might be an instrumental error. It is not an instrumental error. We cannot know the source or origin of the error. That's why we cannot avoid them. If you know the source or origin or reason behind that error, we can avoid that. But in this case, random error, we don't know the origin, exact origin of that error or exact source of that error. That's why we cannot minimize them, or we cannot eliminate them, we cannot avoid them. Okay? Why? Because we don't know the origin, source or occurrence of that error in that particular experiment. That's why we cannot avoid them. Okay? Chalo. For example is measuring of your height. Measuring of your height is affected by the minor posture changes. For example, if you are measuring your height and if you are not standing proper in each time, you will get a slight difference in your height. You will get slight difference in your height. So this is the example of random error or indeterminate error. Okay? This is very day-to-day example. This is day-to-day example. Now we will see the example from chemistry point of view. For example, spectrophotometer or pH meter gives different time, different reading every time. So this pH meter or spectrophotometer will give you a different reading in a different time. So this is the random error or indeterminate error. So that may be instrumental error, that may be your apparatus error, that may be a personal error. Exact cause of this error is don't know. That's why it is called as a random error or indeterminate error. Why it is called as indeterminate error? Because we cannot determine them. These random errors are we cannot determine, so it is called as indeterminate, and due to this we cannot eliminate or we cannot avoid these errors. Okay? Chalo. Then we will move forward. Difference between systematic error and random error. So what you have to do, you have to make a two part of your paper. In one part you will write systematic error and in another part you will write random error, and we will write the difference between systematic error. We will write difference. Yes, Anjas Thakur is saying change in temperature. So whatever it is, the reason is not known. Reason is not known to us. That's why we cannot determine or we cannot minimize or we cannot avoid this error. So we will see the difference between systematic error and random error. We will see the difference between systematic error and random error. So first difference between systematic error and random error is definition. Always you have to write the definition. First difference of your systematic error and random error is the definition of that particular term. For example, systematic error you have to write the definition in first point. Random error you have to write the definition of the first point. So what is the definition for systematic error? These errors occurs with definite regularity. So they are also called as a systematic error. These error occurs with a definite regularity. So they are called as a systematic error. This is the definition. Now come to the random error. In random error column you will write these errors caused by slight variation that occurs in successive measurements done by same analyst under similar condition. This is the first error. This is the first difference. First difference you will write the definition of that particular term. For example, systematic error and random error. Second definition. Second difference is the cause or source of occurrence of these errors are known. The cause or source of occurrence of these errors are known. In case of systematic error, whatever the origin, cause or reason of that error, we know that error, we know that reason or cause or source. This is the systematic error. And in random error you will write the cause or source of occurrence of these errors is unknown. The cause or origin जो है वो unknown है, ठीक है. This is the random error. Then in third difference you will write it can be detected. It means systematic errors can be detected, corrected, and can be eliminated or minimized. Since we know the cause of that error, we can detect it, we can correct it, we can minimize or we can eliminate it. In case of random errors, they are unavoidable. The cause is, exact cause is unknown. The exact cause is unknown. So these random errors are unavoidable. We cannot eliminate the random error. We cannot eliminate the random error. So these are the some difference between random error and systematic error. ठीक है, समझ में आ रहा है सब लोगों को? Are you getting me or not? Yes or no? Are you getting me or not? समझ में आ रहा है आप सब लोगों को और नहीं? Please reply. Yes, Divya is saying yes, Pramodini is saying yes sir, Chaitanya Chauhan is saying yes sir. What about others? बाकी के लोगों को समझ में आया है या नहीं आया? एक तो हो सकता है कि सब आप लोगों को समझ में आया है और कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आया. दो ही पॉसिबिलिटीज है. रूपेश, शिवानी, संजू, प्रणब, ओमकार, ठीक है, चलो. सो आई थिंक we will stop here. I think we will stop here. In the next lecture, we will see the types of systematic errors and types of random error in the next lecture. ठीक है? Yes or no? Tanishka, Vidhi, Anjesh. Okay, so I will give you 5 minutes. If you have any problem, any query or any doubts, you can ask me in that 5 minutes. Otherwise, we will stop here. Can you share presentation with us, Digvijay Khairnar? I will give you the video. Don't worry about that. I will give the video of all lectures. This lecture also and all lectures also in the Google Classroom. Don't worry about that. Aishwarya Sandesh is saying yes sir. So if you have any problem or any doubt or any query, you can ask me in chat box. Sir, will we have online lectures for whole second year? Pranav is saying yes. So why it depends upon the situation or government. अगर कोविड खत्म हो जाएगा तो we will meet physically also. Don't worry about that. But that is not in our hand. So we will continue our study. Full form of EDTA, Anjesh. Full form of EDTA is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. Full form of EDTA is EDTA. I will write here full form of EDTA. I will write here full form of EDTA. EDTA. The full form is ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. E is for ethylene, D is for diamine, T is for tetra, and A is for acid. EDTA. It is a chelating ligand. It forms a chelate with a calcium 2 plus and magnesium 2 plus. That's why it is called as a chelating ligand, and it forms a complex. That's why it is called as a complexing ligand. And if you use this procedure during the titration, I will give you the notes. Pramod is saying, can we get the PDF of this lesson? I will give the notes, PDF notes for this chapter. Don't worry about that. I will give the video lecture. This lecture I will give you as it is. Don't worry about that. ठीक है? Any problem? Any problem? है कुछ प्रॉब्लम है आप लोगों को? Please ask me in chat box if you have any problem. Now after this lecture I will give, okay, no sir. So many students says no sir. So after this lecture I will give you a Google form. I will give you a Google form, and in that Google form you have to write your name. In that Google form you have to write in your name. ठीक है? So that your name that will be required for attendance purpose. So for today's lecture I will provide you a Google form, and once I get your name, all the student from division B, अगर आपके names मेरे पास आ गए, so from the next lecture I will give you a attendance sheet, so where you can write present or absent. If you have attended the online session, then only we have to. Chemistry, Rupesh is saying chemistry paper 2. Who is conducted chemistry paper 2? That is, you are talking about organic and inorganic chemistry, correct Rupesh? Organic or inorganic chemistry, are you talking about that subject? Pranav is saying I am in division C sir. No problem Pranav, no problem at all. Okay, if you don't know the division, don't worry. Very soon you will come to know that which is your division. Don't worry. Aishwarya Kadam saying Sangpal sir, they start lecture from Monday. Okay, Sangpal sir, आपके lectures Monday से ले रहे हैं, no problem. So can we take lecture tomorrow at 3:30? Ganesh Kasture saying, sir, there is confusion for division of group PCM. Don't worry Ganesh. If you have chemistry, you attend the chemistry lecture. Don't worry about division and group. जहाँ से भी आपको knowledge मिल रहा है ले लो. Don't worry about the divisions. ठीक है? So can we take a lecture tomorrow at 3:30? Please reply. Can we take lecture tomorrow at 3:30? Yes sir. Nutan is saying yes sir. Sandesh is saying yes sir. What about others? They are busy. Yes, very good. Pramodani, Digvijay is saying yes. So we will meet tomorrow at 3:30. So after this lecture is over, I will give you a Google form. In that Google form, you have to write your name. So once I get your name, I can take your attendance from next lecture onwards. ठीक है? No sir, there is another lecture. अरे 3:30 वाजता कोणतं लेक्चर आहे तुला? आपलं टाइम टेबल फक्त 1:30 पर्यंतच आहे. I have timetable. Shalu, Omkar, Danish, Vaishali, they are saying yes sir. Very good. So can we meet tomorrow? So we will meet tomorrow. Don't worry. We will meet tomorrow at 3:30. ठीक है? Any problem? If you have any problem about this today's lecture, you can ask me in Google form. Sorry, Google Classroom. You can ask me on Google Classroom. Don't ask on WhatsApp. No, 10:30. No, 3:30. 3:30. ठीक है? अगर आप लोगों को कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, so you can ask me in Google Classroom. I will answer you in the next lecture or in the Google Classroom. ठीक है? So we'll stop here. We'll stop here. Chalo. Once again, very good evening to you all. Have a great day. Bye bye. See you.